Hi, everyone. I'm Cecilia Curtis, and I want to welcome you to the Friendship Tour, where we talk about the true gift of friendship with some of my truest friends. If you're new to the podcast, thank you so much for joining today. I'm really, really glad that you're here. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with me on the tour. Today's guest is Ashley Cook from Fairfield, California. Ashley is a marriage and family therapist, and I think she's just an all around amazing person. As serious as she is about her work, she's also just a lot of fun. She's almost always smiling, and she has this little twinkle in her eye that always makes it look like she just told a joke. I love it, and I love her. In fact, I love her whole family. When I first moved to California, my husband and I first moved here. Her family was one of the first families to welcome us to the community, and I will always love them for that. I thought about Ashley for a few different friendship related topics, and I'm just so glad that she said yes. So, thank you, Ashley. Welcome to the Friendship Tour. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I know you, you know me, but my friends and listeners don't know you.
hmm
So, do you have a favorite friendship moment? Something that, yeah, we've just done together, experienced together.
I would say I enjoyed it when you all came out. I think, oh man, we have so many little, or not little, but our backyard gatherings. I think it was sometime last year. I forgot exactly what we were celebrating.
Yeah.
But you all being there, hanging out with us, just spending time, getting to know you a little bit more, seeing the boys interact with all the other kiddos that were at the party. We had music and dancing. So that was a good time.
It was, and that was definitely the top of my list for favorite friendship moment. I think it was your birthday party slash
Celebration.
graduation.
Yep. See, I forgot we were
And
celebrating.
yeah, I know you guys, y'all are very social. You have a lot
Yes.
of get-togethers. But I think it was your birthday slash graduation,
Yes.
and that was a special day for me for a couple of reasons. It was the first party we had been to post-COVID.
That's
So,
right.
it
Yes.
was like, "We're going outside, we're
Yeah.
seeing people." Like, we were so excited to go to
Oh,
your house,
good.
and I had just had knee surgery, so I had been
That's right.
down and I wasn't really out, and I was like, "We're doing it. We're gonna get to their house. We're gonna have a good time." And we had the
Yes.
best time. The DJ was
Uh,
amazing. It
yes.
was the first time I saw my kids dance that hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my, I
they
forgot they
were
were breakdancing. Yes.
Yes, they were break dancing, and my little one was doing the wobble, and I was like,
Yes.
"I didn't know he could do the wobble." So it was just a really, really, really fun time. And,
Absolutely.
there was another moment that I guess maybe it's not a friendship moment. You don't know that it happened. It was more something I observed you doing.
Mm.
And I thought about that. I was like, people are always watching, whether you know they're watching or not. Sometimes
Yes.
it's creepy, I guess, to say that, but people are always watching. And I guess I'm a
Yes.
little bit of a people watcher.
Mm.
We were at church years ago. I think it was pre COVID. And you were sitting next to your sister, your twin sister,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 seats over was your cousin, and you kept reaching your arm around and, like, plucking his ear behind his back and tapping him on the head, and all of you were grown-ups. It's not like
Yes.
you were kids. All of
No.
you were grown-ups, and I sat there watching it, and it was so funny and so loving and just so warm. I have no idea what the sermon was about that day
I can't tell you
because
either.
I was so busy just watching the love and the interaction, that was occurring with your family. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
that was just a warm, sweet moment, and I think it says a lot about who you are and the type
Yeah.
of family that you have, for sure.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of comfort and we can be playful with each other, but take care of business when we need to.
Yes,
Sorry for
yes.
distracting you in church though, but
It's I was probably distracted for several reasons. The kids were really little then, and yeah,
Oh yeah.
but
Oh
it was
yeah.
really, really sweet, and I just watched. I just
Oh,
watched.
thank you.
Well, clearly, I love your whole family. It's all loving, warm, all that good stuff.
Mhm.
But
Absolutely.
today, I want to talk to you about some deeper topics. Like,
Mhm.
usually on the podcast, I talk with friends about how they've been a blessing to my life.
Mm.
We've talked about forgiveness and thoughtfulness and making new friends and a bunch of other topics, but I wanted
Right.
to dig a little bit deeper today and talk about boundaries in
Mm.
friendships.
Yes.
And I thought you would be the perfect person for it. I'll be honest, I don't remember hearing a lot about boundaries when I was younger as a young
Mm.
adult. And then all of a sudden, everybody was talking about boundaries with their
Yes.
family, boundaries with their friends, boundaries with work, boundaries with their boss.
Mm.
And I have my own thoughts about boundaries, but I would love to hear your thoughts.
Mhm.
So first off, like your professional opinion, what are boundaries?
Exactly. Great question because you're right. It has kind of become a buzzword. It's thrown around a lot, but it's like, well, what exactly does that mean? Where do I need to have boundaries? Where do I not need to have them? So, how I look at them is it's a sense of safety, right? You're creating a
Hmm.
sense of safety or a barrier. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a very healthy thing to have in place so that way everybody gets what they need. You're able to protect whatever it is that you need to keep safe, as well as doing that for other folks that you're involved with, whether that's with your children, with a spouse, friends, coworkers, family,
Mhm.
supervisors at work for those who, are in the workforce. So that's how I look at it. It's a sense of safety and security.
Hmm. I like that. I like that. What are the different types of boundaries?
Um, So you have, like, again, your traditional healthy boundary. It's clearly defined, it's clearly enforced and consistently enforced. So, for example, I know I have to leave the meeting by 5 o'clock on the dot. Right. Then I'm clearly letting everyone know at the meeting, hey, I have a hard stop at 5 p.m. today. So if there's anything else we need to discuss afterwards, I will follow up with you tomorrow. Right. I am letting you know without being rude or mean that that's my boundary. Right. That's a healthy boundary. Then we have kind of what's called like a diffuse boundary. It's not super clear. Sometimes it can be crossed, and that may not always be known, right? So that could sound like, oh, well, I kind of need to leave, but I'm not sure if I have to leave at this time. I think I need to go by 5. 5 o'clock comes around and you're still sitting in the meeting and you're not getting up. You're not reminding people, hey, I have to go. Um, so it can be a bit confusing, right? Or sometimes that boundary changes. Maybe sometimes it's okay for me to leave at 5, sometimes it's not okay. Nobody's talking about it, right?
Okay.
Or sometimes what we'll see in families, it's hard to tell where one person stops and the other person ends, right? Because they're all kind of diffused together, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
So you talked about firm boundaries and then boundaries that are maybe not as firm. Are there any other types?
Hmm. Those are the main ones that I can think of. The other one would be no boundaries at all, right? There's
Okay.
no clear rules, there's no limits. Everything is kind of a free for all. Sometimes that can create kind of a sense of chaos or
Hmm.
ambivalence. Like, I just don't know what's coming. I don't know what's expected or not expected of me in this situation.
Yeah. You know,
Hmm.
you have all this knowledge about the psychology of boundaries, and I was thinking, and this is just me thinking, but I was thinking about like time boundaries and social boundaries and
Hmm.
physical boundaries
Right.
and financial boundaries, all these
Hmm.
different areas where I guess you could be, I don't know, vulnerable to someone
Yes.
kind of crossing the line. And I don't know if those are technically types of boundaries, but I just, as I was
Hmm.
preparing for this conversation, I was thinking about the different ways in which people could cross the line and where there
Right.
might be a boundary that needs to be
Hmm.
put in place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's say, and again, like you mentioned, there's different domains of life, right? You have your finances, school, children, friends, family, and in all those different areas of life, you're going to have different types of boundaries, right?
Yeah.
What applies for your finances may not apply for work, it may not apply with your children. Um, so what's really important is for you to sit down and really to think. And that's why, a lot of times when we're younger, our boundaries are going to shift as we get older, as we have different experiences, different interactions in the world. But I always challenge you, like, think about where do you need to set a boundary, right? If an uncomfortable feeling is starting to come up, like, ooh, that just leaves me with kind of this icky feeling I don't like. Okay, moving forward, what can I do to avoid, getting into this situation again? What do I need to do to protect myself? And then two, how do I clearly communicate that to the people around me so that they know what's my expectation and they're not left kind of walking on eggshells around me to avoid, some type of reaction that's unpleasant for both of us, right?
That's really good. I mean, just being in tune and in touch with your own feelings. If something happens and then you go home
Mhm.
and you're like mad, you're angry, you're upset
Right.
about something, or you hang up the
Yes.
phone and you're upset about something, you got to deal with it. Like you got
Yeah.
to figure out what is
Mhm.
it that's making me feel that way. That could be a clear sign that something is off and you need to put some
Exactly.
sort of boundary in place. And it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean cutting people off. I think people are
Mm-mm.
quick to be like,
Yes.
oh, she did this. I don't want to talk about. Okay, you don't necessarily need to cut people off. Maybe you just
Right.
need to establish some boundaries for yourself. And if
Mhm.
necessary, with others. But sometimes you just
Exactly.
need to be like, nope, this is my line. And
Exactly.
that's what it
Yes.
is.
That's
Interesting.
exactly it. Mhm. Yes.
So, what's an example like how there's some boundaries that I think are just for us. I
Mhm.
recently decided I'm going to turn on my do not disturb on my phone at a certain
Mhm.
time every night.
Yes.
And it's not because I don't want to hear from people. It's because I'm scrolling on my phone when I should be
Mhm.
sleeping,
Yep.
or I'm looking at nonsense when I could be reading a book, which is far more beneficial to me. Um, so I decided that as a personal boundary for myself. That's easy because it's
Mhm.
me for myself. It's not
Yes.
always easy when there's a boundary that involves another person. So,
Exactly.
do you have any tips for what to
Mm.
do, what not to do when you're putting a new boundary in place?
Absolutely. I would say it definitely depends. Maybe can you give me an example? Like, are you talking about more like with a spouse, with a friend, coworker, or a child? Where should we focus?
Ooh, all of those are good. Let's say there's a
Okay.
child.
Mhm.
We were talking about this before I turned the camera on. But let's
Yes.
say there is a child who still likes to get up in the middle of the night. And
Mhm.
you're saying, no, you're no longer allowed to get up in the middle of the night and come in mommy and
Mhm.
daddy's room. What would you expect that child to do?
It's going to take them a few tries to learn and to understand your boundaries. And to be honest, thinking about the way we would approach teaching children about our boundaries and enforcing them with the children can also be applied probably with lots of other relationships in our life.
Teach
Um,
me. Tell me then.
exactly. So the first thing you want to do, just like you did, you're going to let the child know this is the boundary, right? And you want to let them know I'm not setting this boundary because I'm mad at you and you're bad and you're doing terrible things, right? You're letting them know I'm doing this because I love you, right? I love you and I know you're going to be perfectly safe in your room and
Mm,
you're not coming into mommy and daddy's room tonight, right? So I gave them emotion validation. I clearly set the expectation. And I'm going to remind them as many times as they need to hear it before they're able to, click in their mind, oh, I can't come into my mom and dad's room. It doesn't mean that they don't love me anymore or they've forgotten about me. I just can't go in there right now. Right. So you're setting
that's
that
good.
clear expectation. So same thing can happen. Maybe it's with another adult, right? Maybe your boundary with your friend, right? I can't talk after 8 p.m. on the weekdays, right? That's my time to decompress and relax. Say, hey, I can't really answer the phone after 8, but how about we set up a time Tuesdays at 2 p.m. and I'll check in with you then, right? So you're
Hmm.
still giving that expectation of when they can hear back from you, but also like, yeah, this is my limit. So you're clearly setting your expectations with those around you.
Okay. So I just want to repeat it back to you because I want to get it right in the future.
Mhm.
So emotional validation
Mhm.
is step one, set the expectation is step two, and then
Mhm.
step three is to repeat as needed.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. Repeat as needed.
Repeat is needed. So what
Yes.
if you repeat, repeat, repeat,
Mhm.
and someone still keeps violating your boundaries?
Exactly. So that's that keyword, the boundary violation, right?
Mhm.
So with children, we're gonna have more grace. It's gonna take them a minute to really understand it. When it comes to children, there might be consequences. Okay, you chose to come into my room when you weren't supposed to. And now, right, maybe they lose something or you have to set another expectation with them, right? Same with a friend. Okay, you keep calling me after 8 o'clock, so I'm just not going to answer the phone. Right. And that's
Mm.
where the hard work comes in on your behalf because it's easy. It's like, okay, it's 8:30. She's calling. I really want to talk to her. But I know if I answer that phone, I'm going to be on the phone for 2 hours and I'm up past, my bedtime. So that's where that
Mm.
hard work comes in. It's like you have to hold and enforce that boundary. If you keep changing it, that person is going to forget. And then we're going to look at, future issues or conflicts that come up in the relationship. So that's the hard part, holding the boundary.
Yeah, hard part. Okay, well, you just did a great job. You gave us an example of a boundaryless friendship where the friend keeps calling at 8:30, or you tell the friend I have 20 minutes to talk and she habitually takes 2 hours. I
Mhm.
think those are really good examples. So thank you for making that concrete for us. I know this is really, really helpful for me. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about boundaries?
I would say kind of you had mentioned it earlier too with boundaries. A lot of time we feel, oh, there's a boundary violation. That's the end. I have to cut everybody off. It's like, hold on. Let's hold some grace here. Don't make assumptions, right? Maybe the person forgot. Just gently
Mm,
remind them. Boundaries don't always have to be black and white or very rigid. Sometimes they need to be a little bit more flexible. Maybe the friend is going through a crisis and you know that. So maybe your phone does need to be a little bit more available to them that week. Maybe your child is going through a big change right now and they need a little bit more comfort. So you might make some exceptions to your rule or find a way to be a little bit more flexible. Maybe he's not coming into the room, but you can spend a little bit extra time cuddling on the couch before bedtime, right? So be flexible, hold your own boundaries for yourself, right?
mm,
If we're able to practice that on our own, it's going to be a lot easier to apply enforcing boundaries with others. So, for example, you were talking about like financial boundaries. Other people aren't spending your money. Typically, it's you that has
right.
access to your money. So can I, hold that boundary for myself? Am I not going to just go into Target and, buy whatever I see? Or can I hold my boundary of you said you're coming in to get toothpaste and a toothbrush? Can you get out the store with that, right? So practicing those boundaries, holding them and
No,
enforcing them with
no,
yourself.
I cannot get out with just the toothpaste.
I know, I'm struggling with that one
Not
too.
Target. Yeah, sorry,
Yes.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's a fair point. But even then, right? It's so hard. So, and then let's say there is a boundary violation or you violate your own boundary, right? Give yourself forgiveness. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the relationship. You can always try again, right? And boundaries do change with time. Um, let's, for example, a boundary you may have had at the beginning of a friendship or a relationship might be very different once there's more intimacy established, right? It's going to look different. So they're going to evolve with time. They're not fixed. But again, using emotion validation, setting your clear expectation, repeating yourself when you need to, and enforcing that boundary, right? If it's a constant boundary violation, something needs to be reevaluated,
Yeah.
whether that's with yourself or with the other person. Check in with yourself. How are you feeling after that interaction or after the boundary has been violated? What needs to happen next?
You said something interesting. You said you don't necessarily have the same boundaries, the same needs as you go through life. And
Mhm.
that's true. I mean, of course it's true, but I'm glad you said it. It just made me think that I think friendships are most vulnerable during seasons of transition.
Yes.
So, going from another guest and I talked about this last season, my friend Wendy. Going
Mhm.
from high school to college, some of
Mm.
your friends go with you, and I
Yes.
don't mean go to the same school, but some of your friends make the transition with you and you remain friends. Some
Mhm.
don't.
Right.
Going from college to post college, some of the friends go on to graduate school, some don't. Some get
Mhm.
married, some don't. Some, like,
Yes.
all these things are happening in our lives. And
Mhm.
I think it's a particularly interesting time for a friendship. Can you
Yes.
navigate those changes? I know when my husband and I got married, we were among the first of our friends to get married. I think there was only one
Mm.
other couple who was married in our friendship circle before us. And I could feel my relationships change because
Yes.
I definitely wanted to still have my friends, but I
Mhm.
couldn't talk on the phone at, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. That's time that I was, with my husband talking to
Right.
him. Or I
Yes.
couldn't make it to every dinner, every birthday, every girl trip.
Right.
I couldn't because I was pulled in different directions. So I can see how boundaries pop up at those times and how that could leave a friend feeling, I don't know, isolated or left behind.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
that's not the intention. The intention is not to leave
Exactly.
anyone behind, but
Right.
it's to continue growing. And the
Yes.
friendship hopefully continues growing as well.
Mhm.
Obviously, having children, that's another,
Yes.
time of transition. Some people are
Absolutely.
having kids in their teens, 20s, other people,
Mhm.
it might be 30s, 40s. Can
Mhm.
you navigate that space? I
Right.
was definitely married first, but among the last to have kids.
Mm.
So I started losing my friends, not losing them, but our relationship started changing when the
Changing.
kids
Yep.
came along.
Yep.
Um, but now that I have kids, our conversations are changing and there's
Mhm.
more we have to talk about. And now I'm the one who's like, oh, no, no, you can't call during dinner. Oh, you can't
Right.
call during bedtime. Oh, you can't,
Exactly.
so, and I know I'm that person, but I need to be because this is a unique
Yes.
time in my life
Mhm.
when other little people need me too.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know. I just kind of felt like saying that. Like those
No.
periods of transition are
Yes.
tough
Yes.
on relationships and on
Yes.
friendships, and that's where
Mhm.
boundaries, they can be
That's where
really
they
important.
protect everybody. That's
Yeah,
exactly what you just described because, okay, these are all natural things that happen as we move through the phases of life, right? People get married, having kids, and friendships are so important. And if you
they
want to protect
are.
your friendships,
Yeah,
boundaries, right? Clearly
yeah,
communicated ones, letting your friends know, like, hey, yeah, if you want to come over, I have this new baby, but I only want you to visit during this time
yeah,
because there are other times I can't host people.
right,
Right? You can't call me during dinner time, but let's set up time to talk at noon when
right.
everything is, a little less chaotic in my household right now. So that's how you are able to maintain, as I said, that sense of safety and consistency. If you can change the boundary, clearly communicate it so everybody's need is still met in that friendship, but you're still able to do what you need to do in the other areas of your life. Still be a present parent, still have time for yourself to decompress at the end of the day, but still, maintain your friendship.
Goodness, I just had like a flutter thinking about when I was a new mom, like infant, first infant.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think about it this way until now, but just needing a boundary with the Amazon delivery guy because he
Oh,
was always ringing the doorbell. And I'm like, I just need this baby to sleep.
yes.
And, finally you put a sign on the door that says
Mm-hmm.
baby sleeping. But I
Exactly.
didn't really think about it as a boundary, but I guess that's
Yeah, it
what it
is.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it
It's a
was.
small boundary, and I'm sure the Amazon delivery guy was not offended that you put a sign on the door,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that helps you to, okay, I can still get what I need from the delivery man, and my baby is not going to wake up after I just put him down. So
Yeah.
keeps everybody
Well,
safe.
it keeps everybody safe. I love that
Mm.
definition. I was just gonna try to make sure I understand everything that you said. So,
Mhm.
the boundary itself is meant to create a feeling of safety, whether
Yes.
that's, and I'm adding this part, correct me if I'm wrong, whether that's psychological safety, physical
Mhm.
safety,
Right.
whatever. It's meant to create a feeling of safety. And
Mhm.
then the boundary itself is the expectation that you expect others to the expectation for what your behavior is gonna be or not be. Is that
Mhm.
accurate?
Mhm. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then how you put the boundary in place, first you validate emotions, the emotional
Mhm.
validation piece. Then there's the expectation setting and repeating that as needed. Is that
Mhm.
accurate?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Is there
Yes.
anything that I missed or that we missed?
No. Well, I guess the other one too is just being flexible, right?
Be
Where do boundaries
flexible.
need to be a little bit more rigid versus where do I have some flexibility to change and adapt to the situation, right? But thinking long and hard before, making any accommodations as needed. Mhm.
I love it. Thank you, Ashley. This was great.
Absolutely.
And I think we all need it because friendship is just so important. And
Yes.
if there's anything we can do to protect friendship and protect relationships as a whole, I'm all for it. I've said it before, but I think life is just too difficult to go through alone. We need our
Right.
friends. So
Exactly. Yes.
we need our friends, we need our family.
Mhm.
But let's do what we can. And if that means putting some boundaries in place so that everyone feels safe,
Mhm.
then I'm all for it. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yes.
you for safely talking me through that one. Thank you, thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you. And thank you again to your entire family for just being so great, like so warm and so
You.
welcoming. All of you, like mom,
Mhm.
dad, sisters, brother, cousins, all of you just make me smile.
Good.
And today, I'm thanking you especially for your professionalism and your kindness and your warmth.
Nice.
Today was like a whole therapy session, and I know people listening feel the same way. So
Mm,
you certainly blessed me, and I'm sure that you're a blessing to others as well. So
thank
thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you,
Of
Ashley.
course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.